for that very, very warm welcome, and it's so great to be here. And Lisa, thank you for that very kind introduction. And boy, you kind of shocked me, Corey. This is my campaign manager, and he's wearing an orange tie. Like, what gives here? Yeah, but you're looking good as always. You know, before I begin, I just want to thank Giles. I'll tell you, you're an absolute champion, along with Lisa and Roselle and the whole team here at the Toronto Region Board of Trade. And you know, you folks get it. You really understand the whole system, and Giles, you understand how the government runs probably better than anyone in this room. And I just want to thank all three of you and the entire board for having us here today and talking about the policy priorities and the different sessions. Well, I'm so happy to be here alongside my two champions. They really are the two best salespeople we have in Ontario. Vic Fideli. Vic, you want to stand up and give a little wave there? And Nina Tangri, Associate Minister of Small Business, and you're doing an incredible job, Nina. And I'm just so fortunate to have you. This is always a great event, and having a chance to talk to Giles about the sessions you had in energy, which we'll touch on in a bit, the other day, and so many different factors to keep our province just moving in the right direction. Bringing together business leaders, industry experts, and policymakers to share ideas on how we can continue to work together to build a resilient economy that can weather any storm. And I always say, when everyone collaborates, no matter if it's the municipalities or the province, along with the federal government, the private sector, with trade unions, man, there's nothing that can stop us. And at the heart of it all is one simple truth. When it comes to our economy, it's each and every one of you. I always say it's not the government that creates jobs. If we did, we'd all be in trouble. We create the environment and the conditions for companies to come here. Mayor, great to see you. The great Mayor of Oakville, Mayor Burton, sorry. Just had to jump out there. But it's our businesses and it's the entrepreneurs that create jobs and drive economic growth. You know, what our government can do and what we are doing is supporting you by creating conditions and the climate for jobs to come here and businesses to grow and succeed. And I always say, when businesses grow and succeed, so do the people that are working there. And it starts with reducing the cost of doing business right here in Ontario. Overall, since we came into office in 2018, we've reduced the cost of doing business here by $8 billion each and every single year. That's Vic's #1 selling feature, right? Reducing costs by $8 billion. And we've cut red tape. Mike Harris is our Minister of Red Tape. And I remember when we were first announced, we're having a Minister of Red Tape. And, a few people, my pals, were joking, and man, did it pay off. It's over $1.2 billion of savings, and it's not that the government comes up with it. We rely on the sectors to come and feed us the red tape and the regulations, a lot of duplication, and that has saved over 100,000 working hours each and every single year that you can reallocate someone to another area of your business. And we're making energy more affordable by reducing electricity rates for small, medium, and large-sized businesses by 15 to 17%. Before we were in office, companies were leaving because of the energy costs and the red tape and regulations. And we're keeping taxes low as well. Very simple theory, folks. Put money back into the company's pockets. And I know from being a small business owner, we invest into your infrastructure, into your people, into technology, into buying new equipment, and that generates more output. And I'll chat about output in a little bit here. And the same as, putting money back into people's pockets. If you take money out of people's pockets, they're going to maybe not go for dinner that they might otherwise go for dinner. They might not buy that refrigerator or put a little addition on or do a renovation at their home. So we just believe in putting money back into people's pockets. And in fact, our government has never raised a tax on people or businesses. That stat always amazes me. In 6 years, never raising a tax. We've increased government revenues by $64 billion since we've been in office. And when we walked into Queen's Park and we first sat down, the revenues were $150 billion. And we grew, not we, all of us grew it to $214 billion. And if you look up on the Fortune 500 list, very few companies, there are some, the Amazons, the Walmarts, a few of those, very few companies are doing $214 billion of revenue. And that's the way I look at it as running a business. And $64 billion increase and never raising a tax. With these steps we're taking, we've turned Ontario into an economic powerhouse, and our plan is working. Since 2018, we've added 800,000 new jobs, 160,000 new jobs since the beginning of last year. And I know, Vic, your favorite line is when we have the opportunity to have senators up and congresspeople and governors, it's like you're poking the lion. And last year, all of you created more manufacturing jobs than all 50 U.S. states combined. And when we tell the governors that and senators, they're absolutely shocked. And but it has to do with creating that environment and companies coming here from around the world and investing. And I know, Vic, you're traveling everywhere, nonstop. And the list, Vic calls up and he gives me my vitamin every night. That's what he calls it. At about 9 o'clock, the phone rings, and there'll be one or two companies that are investing in Ontario. And it's the investment, their total revenues, the number of employees that they're employing. But it's such a diverse group. We're seeing tremendous growth in all sectors right across the board. And we just have to keep going, driving that machine. But he comes over once a week, and he gives me a list, and it's 4 pages from top to bottom of multi-billion-dollar investments, saying we have to do this here, this is coming at this time, that's coming at that time, this is the sector that it's going into, and it's amazing. Then I have my other all-star, Nina. That's just incredible. I say number one salesperson, going around attracting people from life sciences, because your writing's in Pill Hill, but so many other small businesses. The vast majority of the people that are employed in Ontario fall under that category of small businesses. And our economy has attracted tens of billions of dollars in the tech sector as well. At one time, the students that graduate, and we have 70,000 STEM graduates every single year, another great selling feature for our province. They'd hop on a plane and head over to San Francisco Bay Area or Silicon Valley. That's not happening anymore. They're staying here in Toronto and Waterloo and Ottawa and the surrounding area. I always say AI was born here, right here at U of T. And I think we have someone from U of T here who's running down the list, and some other universities. But that's our number one selling feature. When it comes to tech, we have talent like we've never seen. We're going 365% faster than Silicon Valley and San Francisco Bay Area. They employ 388,000 people. We employ about 425,000 people. And it's growing at a rapid pace. My poor teleprompter guy, I'm all over the place. You might as well have breakfast, because I'm going to get back on it. Oh, boy. Anyways, $4 billion, and again, I know, Nina, you're focused on this, and Vic, $4 billion in life sciences, and more than $45 billion in the EV sector, and Vic's telling me that we're going to hit $50 billion. So that's great. I can't wait. And as you know, as they were saying out there, that now we're the #1 destination for EV routers. Was it routers or was it Bloomberg? It was Bloomberg that said we're the #1 destination for EV assembly, EV battery manufacturing right here in Ontario. And we can't forget the dire shape Ontario was in just 6 years ago. Sky-high energy prices, you know, an uncompetitive business environment, forced plants to close and take 300,000 jobs south of the border. What a difference a few years makes, and a pro-worker, pro-business government have made since then. And I always say it's not government, it's not us. It's each and every single person in this room and every single sector that is really moving forward. And you get a sense of it when you do meet the ambassadors or consul generals or governors. You know, they come up and they're in awe. They're absolutely in awe. And I'll touch on our story about our U.S. friends in a second here. As we face economic and geopolitical uncertainty, rising costs, and critical elections south of the border. I don't know, how many people watched that debate the other night? Good. Yeah, boy, we've got our hands full with either one of them. But anyways, we can't take our success, our economic growth for granted. We need to ensure that the growth is sustainable for generations to come. And that's what it is. You aren't talking about today, we're talking about long term, no matter if it's infrastructure or transit. That's why we're investing in the largest capital plan in Canadian history, with over $190 billion in new infrastructure spending over the next 10 years. And I'm going to name a few. This includes the $50 billion on more than 50 hospital sites around the province, $16 billion to build schools around the province, and nearly $100 billion in transportation, transit roads and highways. You just think of that. It's $100 billion. Then we have to talk about energy, that infrastructure, and the nuclear capacity, and building our nuclear fleet, which is so important. We talk about water, wastewater, that we announced, I think, combined over $3 billion to get homes built. Here in the GTA, we're building the Bradford Bypass, and we have shovels in the ground to build the 413. That's approximately about 57 kilometers long. When we have some other great ideas that Corey would jump up here and shoot me if I told you, but some really game-changing things that we're going to do in transportation. We're also making great progress on the Scarborough Subway extension, the Eglinton West extension, the Yonge North Subway, the Ontario line, the Hazel McCallion line, not to mention the improved GO Transit access across southern Ontario. These projects are helping to connect our growing region, tackle the gridlock on our roads, and keeping people and goods moving. We're also investing in new and improved nuclear energy, and I love this topic. You know, folks, people don't realize here in Canada that we're leaders around the world when it comes to nuclear energy. And I think we have some people from Bruce and OEB, and I didn't see OPG, but they're just incredible people. We have the brightest people anywhere in the world when it comes to nuclear to power our province's growth. So as Ontario's economy and population continues to expand, both families and businesses can access affordable, reliable, and clean energy for decades to come. You know, when it comes to energy, our goal, we're going to build, as I say, our nuclear fleet like I've never seen before. And I know folks from Bruce are doing a great job. OPG are doing a great job in refurbishing our nuclear facilities, no matter if it's Darlington or Pickering. We're looking for a new site for another facility as well, because we see the growth. We're growing to a tune of 800,000 people every year. And they gave me this number, 790 some odd thousand last year, but they aren't adding all the other people, asylum seekers of 140,000 that just want a better home, right? They want a better home, better place to live. They take a lot of social services, but they'll get back on their feet, and hopefully the feds will get them work permits as quickly as possible, and then they're going to fit into society. They're going to work their backs off and just make their lives a little better. As we build out this critical infrastructure, we're going to continue to support our local businesses through programs that help you grow and expand, and by opening up new markets for your products and services. Strengthening our international partnerships is so crucial. And as you all know, there's no better partnership more important to us than the success of Ontario and Canada working with the United States. The negotiations are going to open up in February on the free trade, you want to call it CUSMA, USMCA. It's about relationships. And when you have these governors up and you have them to your house and you build that relationship, or the 9 senators, Southern senators that we had up and Congress people, you can't put a dollar figure on that. And when I tell them it's not, and the Americans are experts at it, and I'm as guilty as they come when it comes to it as well, about buy Ontario, right? Buy Canada, buy Ontario. The Americans are buy American, buy US. And I've always said to them, we're stronger together when we work together. There's so many things that we have that you need, and vice versa. And I think it's more buy Canada and America. It's a partnership that is growing stronger every single year. Since 2018, two-way trade with Ontario and the United States has grown 25%, over $100 billion. It's increased just over the last 6 years. And if you think of that, Ontario, if we're a standalone country, which I never recommend, I never would. We'd be America's 3rd largest trading partner in the world. We do $500 billion a year in two-way trade. We're the #1 export destination for 17 states, including the Ohio's and New York and Michigan. And by the way, New York's going to be buying our energy once we build up our energy supply. And we're #2 to 11 other states. As we look ahead, November 2024, the presidential election, and the review of the Canada, US, and Mexico agreement, we need to do everything we can to shore up our support, maintaining and strengthening our partnerships. Now more than ever before, we need to foster an environment of cooperation and ensure a fair, open market, paving the way to greater opportunities and mutual growth. That's why earlier this month, our government sent a letter to the federal government asking them not to impose a digital tax on U.S. companies. Sorry, let me get a little drink there. And that's why, over the past year, our government has signed strategic investments and procurement agreements with Illinois. He's a great governor in Illinois. Spent a lot of time there, 20 years of my life. Indiana, Michigan, Nevada. And just last week, we had Governor Murphy over to the House. And I always say to the House, because I give everyone that option. Do you want to come to the big fancy office down at Queen's Park? Or do you want to come to our humble little house and break bread and have a coffee? And every single one of them want to come to the House. It's more personal. But what a great governor he is. These agreements are helping to boost trade, attract investments and jobs, and support millions of American and Canadian workers on both sides of the border. We are instrumental in employing 9 million people in the U.S. And I'll never forget when they were negotiating the trade a few years ago. And the federal government asked us to go down there, the premiers, and we had a chat with them. and at the time, President Trump was putting tariffs, I don't know if you remember, on our steel. And I went back and they asked me how it went, Chrystia Freeland, and what a wonderful person she is too. And I said, you need to tariff every single product. And bourbon sticks out in my mind from Kentucky, You got to tax everything. I'll tell you, it caught the attention of the president at the time. I think it was only 3-4 weeks. He cut off the tariffs and everyone lived happily ever after. But that's what relationships do when you sit down and you have a chat with them and they know we're their #1 customer in 17 states. The tune changes really, really quick. We're also looking for new opportunities to trade with and export with the United States, including critical minerals mined right here in Ontario, and the clean, reliable, affordable energy that can be exported across North America. You know, we have one of the largest mining sectors in the entire world, and we're going to be making an announcement, finally, getting the road built to the Ring of Fire. I think I'm up there later this month or early October. We've had a great agreement with the First Nations folks up there, and everyone's going to benefit, and they're quite happy, and I just can't wait to get up there and start building that road in conjunction with our First Nations community there. As we build on our economic partnership, we need to be a stable ally. At our recent Council of Federation meeting in Halifax, the premiers across the country of all different political stripes, and I got to give my friend a shout out, Premier Wab Kinew. Incredible. You know, he comes from a different political stripe. I love the guy. I told him he's politically misguided. He's the head of the NDP. But you get to know him, you would never, ever think, you know, he's part of that party. You know, he was the one who called out all of, it's true. I love the guy. So, you know, he was the one, he called on the federal government to meet NATO's 2% military spending benchmark sooner rather than later. We need to be a reliable ally and a powerful economic partner. And we need to back that up with ambition, with action, not just words. And we're doing fairly well, but we can do so much better. I think our output numbers compared to the U.S., we need to increase our output per person with a GDP in that. And we just have to keep coming up with ways to be more efficient and use technology, no matter if it's AI or other methods of technology. And we can't go back to the failed policies of any previous government. We have to keep costs down. We need to build infrastructure and strengthen our economic ties with jurisdictions that share our same values. Our government will always be here to work with you, to build Ontario, to build our economy. And I just want to thank you so much for inviting me today to speak.